Alright, today we're going to talk about the Section 8 carbon dioxide emissions assignment. So when you pull up the project document, you're going to have 4 questions. Actually, 5. Five questions. And the first one says, what is the average CO2 emissions of the top 10 countries? Alright, so let's pull up the spreadsheet. Here's a spreadsheet you're looking at. And you have the emissions right here. So for China, that's how many million of tons of carbon that they emit. Alright, so you want to know the average CO2 for the top 10. So to do that, let's add a row here. We're going to right click on 17, do insert, maybe we'll add a couple. Right click, insert. And let's just make a title here. Average CO2 emissions. Alright, so since I typed that in there, let's go ahead and click on it. Let's make it blue. Okay, anything that you do, put it in as a different color. Alright, then to find average, equals average. Okay, make sure you put the equal sign, or else the command will not work. Then we're going to open a parenthesis. Let's highlight the top 10 countries. All right, and there's our average, 599. But that's actually 599 million. So be careful about that. Okay, we just did that work. Let's make it blue. Alright, next question here, I want you to calculate per capita emissions. I want to give you a hint on that. To do per capita emissions, you need to do emissions per capita. So you're going to be dividing those. Now, the problem, though, is these are in millions. These are not millions. So one way you can get around that is to write these out in standard notation. Put all the zeros on it. So if we go here to column C, let's right-click on it and do insert. All right, now we can make a new column called emissions. And we can just do equals the old number here times 1,000,000,000. Right, so what that's going to do is take this number, and now it's going to be in millions. Right, now I could do that for each number here, or I can just click on this. Click on it. I guess the cursor is white here, it's not going to actually drag it. You got to get to the corner where it's black. Drag it down. Right, and what it does is it copies that. So it's going to take every cell in B. So this is B8 multiplied by 1,000,000. Okay, so now we have them in, standard notation with all the zeros. And we want per capita. Okay, so to find per capita, you would take emissions divided by population. So we're going to make a new column here. Insert. Let's call that emissions per capita. And to do that, it's going to equal emissions divided by this per capita. And there you go. All right, so this one's going to be 2. Now, one thing I can do is I can increase some decimals. It's really 1.7614, yada, yada, yada. It goes on for a while. Okay, so we want to make sure we don't just leave it at 2, but maybe we'll go 3 decimal places for that. All right, then you're going to repeat the same thing for the rest of these. So I'll let you guys do that. All right, if we go back here, once you write a paragraph, okay, you can read that and write that paragraph. Then you want to find the mean and median per capita of the top 10 countries. And then I have a question about an environmentalist. So a few more things I want to show you before we leave here is it asks you to highlight the answer in yellow, the per capita emissions for each country in yellow. To do that, here's my emissions per capita. These 10 numbers then, if you go to the bucket right here, you can select a color. select yellow. All right, so it's going to highlight the emissions per capita, these regions, in yellow. I'm also going to take these and change the color to blue because that's work that I did. So is this. Okay, so anything that's work that I did, I'm going to make that blue. Black is what was on here already. Okay, so the last part here is they want you to find mean and median of the per capita emissions. Okay, so we're over here off to the side. Let's just put mean and median. Actually, no, I'll put median up here. Mean and median. Okay, so to find the mean, it's fairly simple. You put equals average, and you want to find the average of all these. Average per capita. Okay, right now my average is 1.761 because I haven't gone through and figured out the rest of these. So make sure you fill these out, don't just leave them blank. Okay, you find these per capita numbers by doing emissions, C5, per divided by population, D5, emissions per capita. All right, then for median, that's going to equal median of these 10 numbers. Okay, so these numbers will be different when you actually do the project. Another thing I want to do, because this bugs me, is I want to center those, make it nice and centered. And I like to make my titles bold. So any sort of little formatting you want to do is fine. The last thing on here, though, is it says highlight the answer in red. I'm going to make that red. So I'm going to go to here, I'm going to highlight these two cells. This is yellow. Let's make it red. There you go. And so now I can clearly see where things are. Don't forget to take those as well and make them blue. And so now I can see what work did you do. I can see your answers highlighted. Make sure you go back here and answer all the questions. There's a few questions you have to write out. Submit this Word document. And you also want to submit the Excel sheet. So submit both of them for full credit.